What's up, guys? Welcome to the I Love Cville show. It's great to be with you on today's Wednesday. The days run together when you're working 80 hours a week. Thank you kindly for joining us. My name is Jerry Miller. We have a great show lined up for you. We got the family behind some of my favorite beer in Central Virginia, Wolf Brewing Company on set. Mary Wolf and Danny Wolf, kind enough to join us on the I Love Cville show. We'll welcome them to the program here in a matter of moments. I love their beer. I love their epicenter on 151. They're opening up a tap room that's now open in the Glass Building right off the downtown mall. They're now part of the the Charlottesville Brew Ridge tour that's in the city of Charlottesville.
Charlottesville Ale Trail.
Charlottesville Ale Trail. We're going to welcome them and talk about that. I think there's so much synergy that's happening in Charlottesville with the various brewing companies. It certainly makes me reminiscent of my trips to Asheville, where you can hop around in one little corridor of the city and hit like 5 or 6, 7, 8 different breweries like you can in Asheville. It's not quite that many in the city of Charlottesville, but it's certainly getting there. We'll welcome them shortly. Let's thank some of the sponsors that make the program possible. First, we would love to give some attention and a couple 100,000 people spotlight to Interstate Pest and Service Companies. We're their proud advertising agency of record. This business started in 1969 with the first generation. His name was Mr. Wells. He had a dream to build a business. He had himself and one truck. In 1969, he would go to his first home, service it successfully, and then in 1969 would go to the closest payphone where he would call his second customer and say, "May I come see you now?" Today, Interstate Pest and Service Companies is 4 generations strong. They have almost 100 employees on their roster. The headquarters is right around the corner from Bodo's Bagels on Harris. They have an office in Richmond, an office in the Shenandoah Valley, and a Commonwealth-wide footprint. The kind of entrepreneurial journeys we love to spotlight here on the I Love Cville show. We also want to give some attention to the good doctor. His name is Scott Wagner of Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. We're Dr. Wagner's ad agency of record. Who's got your back? Dr. Wagner has your back. Chiropractic care, sports medicine, physical therapy. This man is changing people's lives. He recently purchased the old Quinn Farmer auction house and is building kind of this epicenter, this huge mecca of chiropractic care, sports medicine, and physical therapy. So Dr. Wagner doing big-time things. Guys, I have the really easy job. All I have to do is sit here and be myself and spotlight the things that I like to do. Harris Tolber, Judah Wickauer, Lauren Linsky, the team upstairs have the difficult job. They keep us on track here on the I Love Cville show. I think, Harris, we should go to the studio can, and let's welcome 2 people that I think you know very well. Mary Wolf and Danny Wolf of Wolf Brewing Company. Their beer is absolutely banging. We will start with you guys, the people first, before we get into the brand of the business. Ladies first. I will throw it to you, kind of the flip book of your life, your birth story, your passions, your hobbies, your interests, how you got to Charlottesville and Central Virginia. You have a very unique background that I want to spotlight. Show is yours, Mary.
I do. I retired probably 15 years ago, very young, from America Online. I thought that I was ready to retire, went and played golf and did the normal things. And I think I realized I was bored out of my mind. And Danny was getting out of brewing school at the time, and I agreed to help him kind of get started. And I quickly realized that it was sort of like my first career, which would have been in computers. And I was right at the internet at the exact time it exploded. And I saw beer being that next big thing as well. So it turned into much more than just helping Danny find a job. It's turned into a second career for me and us working together and creating a lot of jobs, which at the end of the day is probably my biggest passion about what I do. Some days it's really hard and I remind myself that I'm creating jobs, and it's fun watching somebody get married or somebody buying a house or having a baby, and they've been with us for a while and you know that you're at least a part of that. So that's probably it. If outside of everything I do with that, one of my big passions is dogs. I have 2 puppies, and they keep me sane when the going gets tough. So
I love that answer. I want to throw and welcome Jared Polson to the show, George Collier, Lauren Linsky. You're getting some props. Danny from, is it Britt Watts? She says, congrats, Mary. and Daniel, thank you for watching and liking the show, guys. I got to follow up. I'd love to hear the story of the exit with AOL. Your ties to AOL. You said you were right at that crossroads of the internet blowing up and working for like a mega brand, like the pioneer at the time. Right. Talk to me about that.
Well, when I started with AOL, I had my own internet company. So I was actually one of the very first computer science majors in the country. Then I several years later, then started my own internet company. I decided to sell that and go with AOL. So when I started with AOL, I literally was one of the pioneers of marketing on the internet, which is funny now because it's so prevalent. But at the time, no one knew how to do it. And so I go to this big company from my tiny little startup, and they're asking me all these, how do you do this? How do you do this? And it's kind of fun. So, but I feel really blessed to have been part of so many new and interesting things, and I think the beer industry is the same way. It's like every time you turn around, we're learning something new and we're figuring something new out. So,
weren't you one of the first females at the company?
I was one of the first female executives at AOL.
Yeah.
At that time, pretty much any company, female executives were kind of far and few between, which thank God that's changing. But it was fun. I got to be kind of a mentor to a lot of young ladies and help them kind of figure out how to grow their careers. And
you're a rock star.
You still are.
She is
I
a rock
still
star.
do that, yeah. But it's sometimes you learn how to be tough and get through it, and then you teach other people how to do the same thing.
I love it. Big time respect for Mary Wolf. Let's turn that into a sizzle reel, a highlight reel, start to finish. Danny Wolf, my friend, you make phenomenal beer.
Thank you.
You have a pristine reputation in the beer world for making some fantastic beer. I love it. I love an array of your beers. I'm going to get out of the way, and I want to learn first about you, the person, and then the Brewmaster. So the show is yours, sir.
So I was born in Dayton, Ohio, and I lived there for 10, 11 years. That's where I kind of fell in love with everything biology, growing plants, animals, and also the environment. And we moved to Northern Virginia, where I attended high school, and again was just very involved with those similar things. And after getting out of high school into college, I started to brew my own beer, and I think it was the first or second time I brewed a batch of beer. I loved it, and next time I saw my parents, I was like, yes, this is it. This is what I'm doing for the rest of my life. And I put several years of just home brewing in before I was even done with school, and I ended up going to the Cville Institute of Technology, so that was Chicago for 2 months, and then out in Munich for a little over a month. Great training there, great experience, but I got done with that and couldn't find a job. So I was bussing tables at Devil's Backbone and running some events, or not running some events, but working events with the Veritas Vineyards as well. And probably about a year into that, she approached me, and actually we went to a starting your own brewery class in Chicago together. And on the way back, so I took her there kind of just to be like, I'll need help from you. You're the business brain behind things. I know how to fix things and make beer and come up with cool, brand ideas and stuff. But in the cab, I think it was in the cab ride to the airport after that, she offered me a job, so which I gladly accepted because she's a great person to work with and she knows what she's doing business-wise.
That's amazing. Making beer in your blood, you said you fell in love right away. How about when you launched the brand's your namesake, when you launch the brand and you go from doing beer from a home brewing standpoint to trying to build a brewery that's going to appease the masses in a marketplace. Talk to us about the pressures and the sense of vulnerability that you were feeling at the time, because that's no easy task.
Well, and it's a hard thing to learn how to do on the fly as well. It's not just brewing. It's organizing things so that hoses won't be in the way of forklifts. You have to know how to do plumbing. You have to know how to work with all the trades, the electricians, the plumbers, the HVAC guys, and tell them exactly what you want. So you've got to be able to think really far ahead and also be adaptable ultimately as well. We have one room in the brewery that's served 3 or 4 different purposes in the past 8 years at this point. So truthfully, it's a lot, these days it's a lot about teamwork and just working with them to figure out what we need, and everybody's got their own little place and fixing things. Everything breaks all the time in a brewery.
I love it. Brandon Kaysen, welcome to the show. Jonathan Galasso is watching in Richmond. Folks watching in Northern Virginia, Nashville, in Charlotte, North Carolina. Charleston right now, outside Chicago. We got photos of you on screen doing your thing right now. Turn that into a sizzle reel, please. First question to Danny, all the way through his answer there. Let me throw this to you. Is it just you love entrepreneurship and running a business? I mean, you retire, probably didn't have to work ever. In fact, you didn't have to work ever.
I didn't have to. Now I do, but I didn't have to then.
Right, didn't have to. I mean, a lot of people would say, like, why get back into the grind? And you're grinding.
Yes, I am. Yes, 80 hours a week, that's a good week for me.
Yeah.
I'm a workaholic. I'll be the first to admit it. I love to build things. I learned that a long time ago. I love to start with nothing. I love to walk into a rundown building and kind of go, oh, I can do this, this, and this, or a 10-acre property that had practically nothing on it and turn it into what we've turned it into. So for me, it's sort of having a vision and then executing it and then figuring out what's the next step. So I don't see me giving up for a long time. So
She can't sit still for long.
I'm the same. I'm the same. I totally can relate.
Yeah.
Talk to us about, and I'll throw this to you, and no rules here. You guys just chime in whenever you want to. When it launched officially, why the location on 151? The who, what, when, where, why of Wild Wolf Brewing Company, Dan.
So I'd say why 151. Originally, we fell in love with this area, Charlottesville and Nelson County, through Wintergreen and through skiing and snowboarding up there. That's literally where I learned to snowboard. We've been there many times. Mary's owned lots of property up there and still lives down in the golf course now. So we were all kind of just living out here, and I saw Blue Mountain opening, and then we saw Backbone opening, and it just really made sense to join that trail, and it worked out really well. We were the youngest brewery, but we were the youngest brewery of Virginia's first beer trail. So there's a lot of neat things going out on 151 right now, and that was our home at that point in time. It's where I want to continue to be for a long time. I moved out there specifically to be out there before I even had a job in reality.
Yeah, I would add that 150, the property out there is so gorgeous. It's just
Yeah, it's
unbeatable.
very unique.
And you just can't beat the mountains in Virginia. They're fabulous. So we're out there on this pretty rural area, but yet you have a lot of really cool things happening with the breweries and the wineries and the distilleries and everything else.
And talk about the building and its history.
The what?
The schoolhouse, right?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. We are actually in the original schoolhouse for Nelson County.
That's amazing.
So the property's fabulous. I think we really wanted to be part of the Brew Ridge Trail. I love that, we were the babies. I guess we still are, but, you look at the two breweries that flank us, they're fabulous. And they're sooner first, but they're stellar reputations, and I think it forced us to just always try to over-exceed whatever we did so that we never, felt like we were taking anybody down. So I love that. That's sort of who I am. It's like, what's going to make me push. But we love being on trail. It's not easy in Nelson County. It's if you don't have the tourists, the non-tourist season are slow. It's tough. But I'm glad that's where our home base is. It's a great place to sort of send people back to and say, go have a fun day, go, relax, enjoy, learn about beer, and then you can see us in the city somewhere. So,
what was going through your mind when you got into the beer space? I mean, because when you guys were getting in, it's not what it didn't have the saturation or the popularity.
Yeah.
It was still domestics in a lot of ways, mainstream domestics, owned by the major players, not really the craft scene. I mean, was there a sense of fear of getting, especially when you're doing it with your son as well? I mean, a family business is no easy task. I work with my wife.
No, I get it. No,
Yeah.
Trust me, there are days where you want to choke each other. But that aside, at the end of the day, I also know I work with somebody that has my back, regardless of how irritated he might be with me. So that's hard to find. I don't feel like I was ever scared, but that's probably my personality. I feel like I saw a huge opportunity. I never imagined it would maybe grow this much, but then I never imagined the internet would go, some of the things I did before would go as far. Once I tried craft beer and experienced it, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is a game changer. And
it is a game changer.
It's
so much better.
So much better, and
Yeah.
it's fun, and it's with the millennials and the younger people. They relate to fresh and local, whether it's their food or their beer or anything, their produce at the farmers market. And so we're part of really a movement that's a lot more than just beer.
I love it.
So.
I love it. Passion is your profession. I feel the same. Passion is my profession. Then you can make the saying, you never work a day in your life. We know that's kind of a cliche because we work our asses off. But there is something to be said of doing what you love as your job. Let me throw that to you. You obviously love making great beer.
I love making great beer, and probably more than that, what I've really come to love is teaching people about great beer, training my team. I've also been working as a professor for PVCC for 10 years now.
That's awesome.
We've got some really big programs going with them right now, but it's just being able to share that with others, being able to share something that I've had to fight extremely hard for, because back then there weren't as many of these classes. I signed up for the Cville class and had to wait 9 or 12 months before I could even go. Actually, I think it was longer than that, maybe 18 months, because there just weren't that many options then, and the class sizes weren't that big, they weren't that developed. And and truthfully, there's been a lot of good people out there. Jason Oliver at the Backbone and his team, Mark Thompson, the crew over at Blue Mountain Barrel House and South Street here. Jacques was one of my original mentors as well.
He was the first, right, in Charlottesville, South Street Brewing Company?
I think there was one before him. It was like Cville Brewer. There was something before South Street.
Probably, but he's certainly
was one of the pioneers.
Yeah.
But he
without
was
a
like,
doubt.
it's one of the ones that's still around. Yeah, he was the first.
Now, he exited and sold to Taylor and the Blue Mountain.
Taylor and Mandy
Right.
and Matt, and they've done very well with it. And it's
Because Taylor got a start there, right?
He did, yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Which is just really neat, and that's one of the best things about the industry. Like I was saying, is just the community and bringing people in and training them and sharing knowledge. It's not like I'm sitting there laying out recipes for people or anything, but to point them in the right direction and all that, that's fun. And just to see so many new people, both young people and older folks getting into it these days is interesting, to say the least.
You're a heady dude, man, and you're like a Renaissance heady guy. You think about a lot of stuff. It's more than just making beer with you. And correct me if I'm wrong. Is it monks that are coming and learning at Wolf Brewing Company?
It's Tibetans. So we've recently partnered, or at least in the past, we've partnered with the UVA Tibetan program. We've had at least 2 classes through here. I just had a gentleman by for 2 months that we hosted. He owns the highest altitude craft brewery in the world. I've been out to Tibet
you helped
twice.
start up.
I've been out to Tibet twice teaching, and the second time was directly for him in Lhasa. So that's been a lot of fun. I got to do that through just my experience and time with PVCC. They needed some people to go out for brewing and winemaking, and they wanted Mary to go as well with us, and she wasn't able to make it. So I think Brian Combs came out with us, and
Brian Combs, Pro Renata. Yeah, he's good people.
And then the owners of Veritas, Patricia and Andrew
Patricia
Hodson, came out as well, and we spent 3 weeks out there teaching entrepreneuring and brewing and winemaking. So that's been a lot of fun as well. As again, just getting out to even other countries and getting to share beer knowledge, especially like Tibet, where it's even like Lhasa, there was points where he's like, all right, pull your hat down and kind of put your head to the side so they don't see that you're like an American in my car right now. And there was some checkpoints and things where it's kind of like, okay, we're going to be doing this every day, great. On the other side of the world, 13,000 feet up. But it's been a great experience, and I never thought that brewing beer would have taken me into education
Global.
and traveling.
Yeah.
It's been a wild experience, I'm not going to lie.
That's awesome, dude. Dave Warwick's watching right now. What's up, Dave?
Right.
3 Notch Brewing Company,
Hey,
good
Dave.
people. The Devil's Backbone team is watching right now. Amy Hutchinson-Williams, thank you for joining us. Carly Tiegler, Arlene Rodriguez, Barbara Lundgren, the event planner, is watching right now. Folks watching outside Philly and on Long Island. Rob Lawson is tuning in right now in Naples, Florida. Chris Turner is watching right now inside Chicago. Like and share the stream anywhere you are watching. And I'm happy to relay any comments if you'd like to Mary and Danny. I'm curious of what a day-to-day is like for you. I feel like every day is probably different. I feel like your day is probably a hybrid of putting out fires and then like determining like the 2 steps forward, 1 step back that the business is going to take. I feel like, you have vision. You're an entrepreneur. You have courage and hustle. You're fearless.
You have to be.
Yeah, I love what you
have to
stand
be.
for. I really do.
Yeah.
What's the day-to-day like for you? Firsthand.
If you ask me what's the main thing, I'm a fixer. You have to be.
Put out fires?
You know, it's something's broken or somebody doesn't know how to do something or they can't figure it out. And you have to figure out, okay, how do I give them direction or how, who can I send them to? And so a lot of times it's just fixing things. I'm a process person because I come from corporate life. Sometimes I hate that, but then other times I realize it's the only way you can grow a business is if you have processes and procedures. So sometimes it's just making sure those are there and they're being followed. Training people, making sure people are getting trained. It's just a little bit of everything. So never a dull moment. And just when you think you have it running smoothly, something smacks you in the face. So,
right.
And I don't think that'll ever change no matter how much of a planner I am, no matter how organized I am. There's always something you can't expect or can't predict.
Can we compare and contrast at all being the owner and entrepreneur of Wild Wolf Brewing Company versus being the owner of one of the first internet companies and then working at AOL? Is there any comparison, contrasting that you can make for us?
There are some. I mean, my internet company was small, and so it was relatively easy to manage from that standpoint. I would say one of the most synergies there is I'm still have to be jack of all trades and master of none, which you would think by now wouldn't be the case. But some days it's like, am I the only person who knows this? And some days it feels like that is the case. So then you say, okay, I got to work on that. When you're just a 2 or 3 person company, that is a given. I would say from the standpoint of like AOL and some of the other companies I worked for, it's just figuring out how to make things happen. And I mean, at AOL in particular, I was given a number of projects where nobody else could make them happen. They were big. People were like, here, give it to Mary. She knows how to. It's just because I'm a bulldog. I don't take no for an answer, and I get shit done. I do. And sometimes if you're not like that with your own business, I don't know how you do it.
We call her the bulldozer.
Yeah.
Probably. It's probably what they call me behind my back.
The bulldozer because there's something in front of you that needs to get done, and you bulldoze through it.
You got to. You can't let stuff stop you. You got to figure it out.
I love it. I love it. Hunter from Champion is watching right now. Welcome, Hunter Smith. James Watson, thank you for joining us right now. Like and share the stream anywhere you're watching. You're getting some props on your page. Ray Cadell's watching. Hunter Lee Peterson. Maggie Davis. Is it Vivica Angel? Watching right now. Like and share the stream. Jess Vegas, I've heard a lot about Wild Wolf being eco-friendly and winning awards for their leadership at Green Brewing. Can we please hear more about the process, of this process specifically? That's a question there for Danny. Mary, you chime in as well. So you want to start with that one? That's from Jess Vegas.
Yeah, thanks, Jess. So, like I said, one of the first things that I actually fell in love with in my life was being eco-friendly. I mean, I remember growing up in Ohio, it was like the 2 things that they crammed down our throats, aside from like teaching us cursive and how to speak properly, was, brush your teeth and reduce, reuse, recycle. And that was Ohio through and through. Timmy the Tooth and reduce, reuse, recycle. and that really stuck with me, and it has for a long time. And especially being in the brewing industry where we take over 99% by weight of our waste material actually in the form of the spent grains, and we give it to the cattle farmers to feed to their cows. That's inspiring just there, and just there, any brewery, if they're doing that, can kind of call themselves a zero waste facility. But if you start to look closely, especially having a restaurant, and you're the one that sees the trash can every day before it's picked up on that day of the week or whatever, it's almost scary to start to see all of the waste that's created. And we've gone through and tried to, along with doing a whole bunch of stuff in the building, like the LED bulbs, motion sensors, all the easy things you can do, moving away from styrofoams and plastics and straws, and going all compostable stuff's going out. those things are easy. What we've gone and done too, though, is like found nitrile gloves are not compostable, but latex gloves are. So we simply say on our menu, if you're allergic to latex, let us know. We have alternatives, but we're actually composting these latex gloves along with anything I can get my hands on from the restaurant and the brewery at large. We're composting our shredded paper at this point.
That's awesome.
And it's easy too. You know, we've got old pallets, we drill them together and we start to dump stuff in. So it's kind of, in a nutshell, it's just kind of always looking for the opportunity to do something better. We have a 10-acre property and we don't really like putting out as much poison as we probably need to limit the rodent populations. What we've started to do though is helping our local cat shelter do what's called a TNR program, or trap, neuter, release. And as they're filling up with these cats that make perfect barn cats and won't ever be adopted by anybody and will sit there, we're not necessarily trapping, but they're neutering and then we're releasing. And then they're protected by us, essentially.
That's awesome.
They're marked. And,
We're talking about vertical integration, but from a green standpoint.
And I've gotten,
cool.
I have a cat at my house now from that. So it's just doing all these little things. And Mary's great. She gives me the time and actually pays me to go out and try to do all these fun things. So we're working with Appalachian Voices right now. There's a really neat Eco-Friends Virginia program that we're working on to kind of bring awareness to more of these. And that's really what we can do for a lot of these eco things too, is bring awareness to them as a brand where people pay attention to us. That's kind of the eco thing in a nutshell. I could go on for days about it. But
I would like to add that Danny says it's all easy. It's not easy. We have a million initiatives. We have a bunch of things we're doing, the ducks and the geese and the chickens and the hop yards, so we're not using fertilizer. And a lot of those things we do, and we do them with our team, the brewery team, and God love them, they make all that happen, and they don't fail. But now you take a restaurant, and now you have people, and you have to say, whoa, why are you putting that in the trash? No, that goes in the compost bin. And, restaurants have turnover, and so you're constantly trying to educate. Don't give the guest a straw. Make them ask you for a straw. Have you seen all the straws in the ocean? So a lot of it for me is making sure my management team is educating and saying, don't put that in the trash. Get that compost out to the compost pile. And then yesterday were told that the Nelson County Recycling Center won't let us bring I pay somebody to haul all my recycling. So then now they're not letting us go there. I'm like, oh, great. So now I have to figure, again, like I said, fixing things. So now I have to figure out where are we going to go. But we haul lots of cardboard, bottles, metal, glass, probably 3 times a week.
Nobody will pick it up in Nelson County.
Right. We're rural enough. And so it's not easy. It's hard. But we're committed, and it's a constant education process, constant.
I got go ahead, Danny, sure.
And just to kind of tag on to what she was saying there, having that opportunity to constantly have that impact and promote these ideas and train people and just slowly, bit by bit, have that impact is very rewarding. So it's a fun program.
I love it. I got a direct message coming in here on Twitter, guys, and you can DM me on Instagram, Twitter. You can put a comment on any of the Facebook channels if you'd like to relay a message to the Wolves. Brian Dean Susia is watching. Arlie Ritchie's watching. Sean Porter, Temple Ron, Brian Frankie, Megan Delaney, Meg Taylor's watching in D.C. Michael Jameson's watching right now in Florida. Direct message, Jerry, I'm a UVA graduate. I'm watching the show right now on Long Island. When we come back to visit UVA, we always do the 151 Trail. We're enamored with the brewery and all the things that there is to do at the 151 Wild Wolf Brewery. Mary, the question I have for you is, can you tell us how the brewery has evolved with so many different things to do on 151? That's a good question.
I don't think it's anything that you go into day one knowing exactly the direction it's going to go, because you have to know your customers in the market and what they want. I would say we have evolved over time. We always went in with the passion of having great food. We've recently gotten Chris Jack back. I'm never letting him go again. He's awesome. He makes great food. So, that's always been there. We've always wanted to be a place for family and kids so that you can come have some beers with your children and not worry that something's going to happen to them, which is really nice. We want to see people having fun. We're not a turn and burn restaurant. If people want to come for several hours and sit and play and have fun, that's fine with us. So we have all the cornhole and the toys for the kids.
Live music?
We
sports?
haven't been doing the music as much. We find that's kind of tapered off for us. But we turned our pavilion into a sports pavilion, so we have giant 75-inch TVs in there.
We'll work on the music.
He loves music.
Well,
he loves festivals.
There's this, people have to come hear the music in order to justify it, and we were having problems with that. So,
I have some ideas about that.
But anyway, and we'll figure out whether, what we're going to do here. But we try really hard to have a lot of different things going on, so it kind of appeals to everyone. We've tried lots of things. Some didn't work. Some do.
I love it. I love it. Let me throw this to you here. And Janet Dobb is watching right now from Bacon Bagels, the bagel ladies at the farmers market. She says, I love that you're dedicated to eco, Danny and Mary. It ain't easy. Thank you very much for sharing that perspective. Dan Barnes, thank you for watching. Grace Masia, thank you kindly for watching. Beer in Charlottesville and in Central Virginia. First, maybe talk about the city. I see you at other breweries. I've seen you at Pro Renata. I saw you at the Brews and Seafood Festival at Devil's Backbone.
Yep.
You said you worked at Devil's Backbone. You love beer across the board. You love supporting local beers and craft beer in general. Charlottesville City first. The beer scene in Charlottesville. Maybe not quite Asheville, creeping in that direction. What are you seeing as the future for Charlottesville City first in its craft beer scene?
So...
It's not a huge market.
It's not a huge market, but it's growing and it's developing. And even though we were kind of the original Brew Ridge Trail or whatever, I've always considered myself and us to be a part of Charlottesville. Just because Charlottesville is one of the reasons that I live here. Charlottesville is one of the reasons that I moved here. It's phenomenal food, great music all the time, great people, lots of colleges and just it's lots of opportunity out here. But the beer scene it's lots and lots and lots of opportunity that I see. There's a lot of growth going on, lots of growth. So.
I'll throw it to you. 50,000 people in the city of Charlottesville, roughly 50,000. A lot of disposable income, but we already have a number of breweries here. Future of city of Charlottesville brew scene. Your thoughts?
I mean, we're not going to be huge producers out here. We put in a one-barrel system, but we did that so that we can do a lot of experimental brews. I think the folks here appreciate beer.
Yeah.
They appreciate new beers. They appreciate being a part of kind of the evolution of beer. We want to be a part of that as well. We want the input. That's the beauty of having an experimental brewery where we can, brew a batch and it's gone in a week, and we say, did you love it or did you hate it? Should we do more of it? So I think that there's a lot of opportunity for that. It is. We'll obviously have all our core brands here. I'm with Danny. Charlottesville, it feels like home to me. It's funny. It's just the day I got here, started looking at things, like, I'm comfortable here. I love being here. So I think
lots of opportunity.
There is. I don't see there being a limit to what we or the other breweries can do. I think we bring a really interesting facet to the food and beer business, and I like being a part of it.
I love it. Chris Tilley says, what up? Brian Combs says, tell Danny I said hi and congrats on the new location. That's a perfect segue. Let's turn this into a sizzle reel. I'll throw it to Mary. You jump in as well. Just chime in. Wild Wolf Brewing Company has a new location, downtown Charlottesville, in the Glass Building, right between the downtown mall and the Ix Art Park. Perfect location. Perfect spot. The show is yours on the second location. Who, what, when, where, why. You've already kind of touched on it. Why downtown? Why open the second location? Your thoughts on that?
Well, we definitely wanted to expand. We've been talking about it for several years. I've looked at other locations. I feared that maybe Charlottesville was a little too close to Nelson. But when it came back to it, I love Charlottesville. I love downtown. I love, love, love it. And why not? We're 40 minutes away from Nelson. we have had so many people just in the week since we've been open say, oh, thank God you're here. I love your place, but I don't get out there very often. So with our passion for great food and great beer, I think we can do very well here and be good contributors and, add more jobs. And again, as I said at the beginning, that's one of my passions is creating jobs. So I love our space. When I saw the space, I was just like, this is it.
The space is so nice.
It's so
It's
amazing.
so cool.
So amazing. And that's really important to me. I have to walk in every day and just fall in love over again with the place that I'm trying to do business at. So
I love it. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's just a great opportunity to get out here, closer to a bigger city too. And I'm really excited for is we've got this tiny little, beautiful little system that is full on pro quality. It's full hard piped. It has everything that a big brew house has. And the tanks are the exact same way. We've gone through and kind of taken everything and just shrunk it down, and everything's mimicked exactly. It's just 15 times smaller than our home-based brewery. So the opportunity here for me and for us as brewers really is to bring people out and interact with them and talk to them and gain insight from them. What are you looking for? What are you looking for? What do you want to do? Talk to people about new recipe ideas. We definitely want to get out at least once a month during the farmers market and do kind of a community brew where we talk about what we're doing and the ingredients that are used. And
you would crush it at that.
Yeah, so get out, start at like 10, 11, something like that. So you get time at the farmers market, but then you can come over and check us out too, and even talk about, hey, how can I use these berries that I bought today in a beer that I can make at home. So it's an extension for me of just continuing the education process and training people and interacting with people and just really getting them excited about the product. Mary and I argued a little bit about where the brewery was going to go, and she wanted to stick me like way upstairs behind closed doors in the back corner of the building.
On the second floor up there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was
It's
like,
our
no
banquet
way,
room,
we've
but-
got this huge glass front.
And you want it to be out front.
Right, I've got this beautiful equipment coming. I want everybody to be able to see it. And luckily, the decision was made when we found a floor drain, a functional floor drain right there.
It was.
So we were kind of like, we're going to have to jackhammer, but ended up being there's a floor drain right there. So the decision was easy, and it's a gorgeous space. It'll be a great opportunity just to interact with people more. We really don't get that opportunity out in Nelson County. So.
Two-part thing I'm going to say here. Keep the sizzle reel going here, Harris Tolber. First part is, it seems like a no-brainer. I'll throw this to you. It seems like a no-brainer. More tourists are hitting the city of Charlottesville than 151.
Right.
It's safe to say.
Right.
The epicenter of the city of Charlottesville is downtown, where you guys are at. UVA is producing thousands of people every year that fall in love with Charlottesville and fall in love with downtown and want to come back. A perfect example is reunions this weekend. People are coming back. Mm-hmm. So they fall in love with downtown. They can get touched by your brand. They can fall in love with Danny's Beers at your second location downtown, and then learn more about the flagship on 151. So that's the first part I want to throw to you. And then the second part I want to throw to you guys is the future of craft beer these satellite-type tap rooms that are strategically positioned within a vertically integrated nature of the flagship location. Three Notch is doing this really well with Roanoke, Richmond, and Harrisonburg. Throw both to you and just that conversation, because I love the business side of anything.
As far as the future of craft beer and the tap rooms, I think it absolutely is the right direction. The reason is because everything's become hyper-local. When you take your beer into a new city like DC and you're all the way in Nelson County, that feels like, 3 states away, even though it's not. So the beauty of remote tap rooms is now you're part of the local culture. And so you develop that culture and the love and the affinity to the people around you. And you may do different beers and things in those areas because people want different things. So it lets us be part of different communities, and this won't be our last. So we like that model. We've taken a little longer to get there, but we have a lot going on down in Nelson. It took us a little longer, but I like that model. I like being a part of other communities and then building our followers in each community.
I love that. Thoughts?
I completely agree. Craft beer, I don't know what the future is going to hold for craft beer, but what it is going to be is more and more and more hands-on with the ultimate consumer, and more, hey, this is who I am. This is why you should drink my beer. So the different tasting rooms, like I said, give us the opportunity to interact with people more and more and more. I mean, when I'm working on the large system and we're cranking hundreds of gallons of boiling liquid through pipes and tubes everywhere, that's no place for the public. But if we can do that on a micro size in front of people and talk to them, so I think the tasting rooms really will be very important in the future.
Well, and it's your highest margin.
Right.
At a tasting room. Right? I mean, no question. Isn't that's obvious, right?
Yeah. We actually, when I did my first business plan, it was 10 years ago. So next year we'll be 10 years old.
That's awesome.
But that counts the first nano brewery, and
Sure.
then, but when I did the first business plan, there was no ability to have a tasting room at a brewery. You had to be a restaurant.
We should talk about that.
And
'Cause that was huge.
It was huge. And that, that makes a big difference because, if you're pouring your beer, that's where you make your money. I mean, anybody who owns a restaurant knows there's not much money in the
Right, it's a
food
nightmare.
side.
Yeah.
It can be. I try not to make it one, but
Right.
it's hard.
It's brutal.
Your
margins are so freaking slim.
You have to watch every penny.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, the restaurants are operating, guys, on single-digit margins. I want you to think about that.
Yeah.
And those are good restaurants.
I would say the best
Are
restaurants
single digits.
Yeah.
7-8% profit margins here.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're lucky. And we learned about that. We had Chrissy Benninger of Bluegrass Grill, your neighbor in the glass building, on the show yesterday. And she was like, anybody that's watching the show that wants to start a restaurant, my advice to you is don't start a freaking restaurant.
Run for your life.
I think she even
Run for
said
your
that.
life.
Run for your life there. Brian Colbert is watching. Thank you for joining us on the show. Let me throw this to you guys, both you guys here. And you touched on this. Why don't I throw it to you? And I forget the exact number of the legislation that changed, when tap rooms didn't have to stop
SG
selling food.
602. So for HPs.
Policy and legislation changed that basically allowed tap rooms like Wild Wolf not to have to
I think it was
focus on
604 or
food.
something like that.
A lot of times, a good example is, and now Champion is throwing a kitchen, but for a long time, Champion Brewing Company had no food and would just welcome food trucks.
Yeah.
Throw that to you and how that changed the game.
So truthfully, it's that law changing and not being a law when we opened is what made us who we are. And one of the things I see us doing well at, and where we might be a little bit ahead of a curve, in one sense, we're behind the curve a little bit in brewery expansion and all of that, but
Your food is really, really good.
we're good at running restaurants
That's right.
now
Thank
too.
you.
We've done it for 10 years now. We've got an incredible team. Thank you to everybody who works with us. They'll bend over backwards to help us out.
Your food is not an afterthought, and I'm not knocking
No.
any of the breweries that are
No.
watching here, because we have 4 breweries that are locally that are watching right now. Your food is a
And
priority.
that's and
It's a high
I think what
priority.
everybody's quickly realizing is if you don't have food there in some form, a food truck or et cetera, you won't have as many people coming
won't stay
out.
sticky.
Well, the class that
right.
Danny talked me into going to way back before any of this
Said
started.
they'll come for the beer and they'll come back
The beer
for the
brings
food.
them in, the food brings them back. And that stuck with me. And so when we went into business planning, I told myself, and I'm a foodie, so it wasn't necessarily, it was hard, but I went into it knowing that we had to do the food very, very well. And that we try very hard to do that.
Well, and the other thing, kind of piggybacking on something that Mary keeps coming back to, is restaurants create jobs. These are, if you think we have 50, 70 people working for us at this point, and each one of them is helping to support a family. A lot of them have children, a lot of them have, there's all sorts of situations out there, but they're all making money to support themselves. And even on the hard days when I'm just like, oh, why do I? And I'm not feeling good, and it's pouring down rain.
It's your
And
team members.
it's knowing that if we don't go out and do it for them, so it's having a restaurant lets us do more of that, which is nice.
I love it. I love it. Keep the sizzle reel going. I'll throw it to Mary, and this will be the end of that last sizzle reel here, Harris. What can we expect from the downtown tasting room? Is it tap room? Is that the right terminology?
That works.
Yeah. What can we expect from the downtown tap room and restaurant?
Well, Chris has done it again, and he's put together some really creative dishes. We tried very hard not to duplicate 151. We kept a few of the things that do very well there, but we're kind of keeping the smoked meats as specialty of Nelson. But so he's done some really amazing things. I'm just head over heels over his new one, which is kind of a twist on nachos. It's the nacho queso melt, but he does pork rinds and he fries them. When they come to the table, they're still sizzling. They're still popping like cereal, and that is to die for. So he's done quite a few new dishes that I just think are amazing. That's fun. I think the space is.
It's an more upscale menu.
It is.
Is that fair?
It is. Yes, it
Yeah.
is. We tried to do some things that just don't work as well for us in Nelson. And, if there are things that do great here, maybe we'll try them back there. But we want them to be different. We want people to have a reason to come here or go to Nelson. We're trying to make it's still fun. The patio is phenomenal. So, we're trying to have it be a place where, we have lots of people sitting outside having a great time. That's hard to do in Charlottesville, so it's nice to have a space where we can have a great outdoor patio. So, yeah.
I love it. Jay Shively, welcome to the program. Bellamy Brown, running for City Council, welcome to the show. Nikki Wooten-Chambliss, thank you for joining us. Ronnie Lazary, thank you for joining us. Folks in Vegas right now and in Venice and Los Angeles watching the show. Like and share the stream on any of the channels that you're watching here. Going to spend about 12, 13 more minutes with the Wolves who are crushing it at Wild Wolf Brewing Company. Let me throw this to you here. You are a fantastic evangelist for the brand. Like, you're like the Derek Jeter of the New York Yankees, but for Wild Wolf Brewing Company. I always see you a lot of times sporting the merch. You just freaking love beer in general. Talk to us about being it's a cliche term, not the face of the franchise because you're not a franchise, but you get what I'm saying, the face of the team.
Some days it's a challenge, but I love it. To continuously develop the brand and actually have a job to do at the same time is difficult. We're obviously a smaller company, so I don't always get the time to do everything that I'd love to do. But like I've said earlier today, the company is kind of a great mouthpiece to share things that are important to us. And we've kind of developed the brand in that direction with we're very dog friendly. We do the gardens, we do all the green things. We've won a ton of Virginia Green Travel Alliance awards and a couple of the governor's awards for that kind of stuff. But it's fun because truthfully it's even more on my plate all the time, but I kind of get to do almost, unless there's a deadline like things at the brewery right now, the new restaurant that I've got to get done, I kind of get to pick and choose what I get to do every day. And a lot of it's things that I really, really, really enjoy. So just having the opportunity to do that sort of thing every day and to travel around and bring my dogs to work every day, and it's nice. The most rewarding part is getting other people excited about the things that we're excited about. The team does a really good job working on the environmental stuff with us and getting out to and helping at all these festivals and just doing the various things. So it's not 100% me either. I spend a lot of time getting other people excited and talking about, hey, we should do this. Do we have time to do this? And I love to get out to see live music too. So summertime's coming, and I've definitely got a few shows that I'll plan on being at, and it's just great to see. Especially here in Charlottesville, there's so many music lovers. The kind of music I love, a lot of these other people do as well. So we see each other at the various shows, and you make friends that way and get to know people that way. And so for me, it's just rewarding. Again, I never thought getting into brewing that I would be here and doing this sort of thing. I always saw myself more behind the scenes and paying attention to recipes and repairing equipment, that sort of thing. But
love that answer. That's the end of that last sizzle reel, Harris, that marker right there. I'm going to throw this firsthand perspective and throw it back to you. With I Love Cville, people want to know the person behind the brand. So a lot of times I'm front and center, throwing a show like this and then really front and center, doing it 5 days a week. I love being the Danny Wolf for I Love Cville. Sometimes it's freaking exhausting, though. Sometimes I just want to get after it, not worry about who's looking. You know what I'm saying? And just be myself. And I'm not like in any way knocking, because the business has been great for our family, building jobs. I love the business. The business in a lot of ways is my first son, first child. And the child that my wife is keeping alive right now is the second. 11 years old for us on May 31st.
Nice.
So just had our 11-year anniversary. Throw that to you. Sometimes you don't want to be front and center, and how you manage it.
Well, and Mary said you do have to be fearless, and you do have to have your way of doing things. And I was just telling one of my friends who was watching just the other day, she was talking about getting more out on her own, and I was giving her some advice. And one of the things I told her is you can't be afraid of making mistakes, and you can't be afraid of making decisions. You need to use all the information that you have and move forward on it. And I think Mary's mom's been doing it a lot longer than I have, so I think she's a little bit better than me. But there's definitely a time at the end of the day when I want to go home and just be with my dogs at home alone. And I'm kind of that person to begin with.
You're introverted?
I'm a little bit of both. I mean, at a music festival, I'll wave at people and hang out and stuff, but a lot of the times I like being alone, and it's not so much introverted. It's just time for me to, so I guess it's introverted. It's time for me to recharge and amp up again. And it's not that being with people so much drains me. It's just that my brain never stops working. It keeps going all the time. And my true friends know that about me, where it's like even at night, like before, they'll tell me how much it annoys me all the time, and it doesn't stop me from doing it because it's just who I am. But,
totally get it.
I don't know. Does that answer the question?
That does answer the question. Let me throw a business question to you, Mary. What did we learn? Green Flash closed in Virginia Beach. The Chutes is very slow to open in Roanoke. The Chutes wanted to come to Albemarle County. These are West Coast mega brands that are trying to open East Coast like epicenters as well to help, like, I guess, vertically integrate their distribution, make it a little easier. As a businesswoman and visionary, what was learned from those things?
Well, I mean, sometimes I think people jump in just a little too big. I personally have wondered, particularly with Green Flash, what if they'd gone in it just a little bit smaller and maybe grown? And I'm a big fan of organic growth. Everybody knows that. We probably take too long to do things sometimes, but we do it slow and we try to do it well. What if they had just done half the size and half of what they did? Would they still be there? And I really wonder that. So, I mean, they created jobs, but then those people lost their jobs. That sucks. It's just unfortunate. So, I don't know. I think for me, just my personal philosophy, take it slow and cautious. I'm a risk taker. Don't get me wrong.
You definitely are.
But I'm a huge risk taker.
Yeah.
But, I think take calculated risks. And, when you see beer booming across the whole country, maybe say, is there really room for, two gigantic new mega breweries in addition to some of the ones that were, Stone did it several years ago. And, they've done very well, but they took a slow start too. So I think that maybe just taking it a little bit smaller steps and grow a little more organically isn't a bad thing.
How about the distribution piece? How does distribution fit into the future of a craft beer brand like Wild Wolf Brewing Company? Distribution's
hard.
Yeah, heard.
I think it's harder than a restaurant.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you that.
I want to learn about that.
Oh, it's hard. It's very hard. It's just, there are so many new brands out there, and some of our distributors just continue to take on brand after brand after brand.
Because that's how they make money.
It is. Yeah. And that's fine, and that's their business model, and good for them. But after a while, they kind of forget who you are. And you reach a point where you go, I can sell my beer here for this, I can sell it to you for this. And it gets tough. And, I always put the distributors first, but sometimes you look at the math and go, is this good math? And a lot of people are like, why don't you go to North Carolina? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And part of me says, I kind of like this, the auxiliary tap rooms better. I think financially they make more sense. I think they feel better for me.
It's better for the brand's growth.
I think it is. And
better margins.
You're not just oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. Because it's like pennies, right, with distribution.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah.
And then you're just part of so many other brands.
Right.
So distribution, we've got good partnerships. We've been with the distributors we've been with them for a long time. But I don't necessarily see that being something I want to go after a lot more in the future.
Did you ever do distribution yourself?
Could we? We actually, when we first started, we were set up to do what Three Notch has done.
Right.
And then the more I was looking at the laws, and it's like, really to do it legally, you have to have a completely separate company.
Right.
There can't be any people working in
for
both companies.
Right.
You have to be really careful. And then where I was like, I don't really want to know about somebody getting called at 11 o'clock at night because someplace in Charlottesville needs another keg or whatever the case may be. Our distributors definitely work for their percentage. So
They're good partners.
they are, and that is their business. They do it well, and we're happy for that. So no, I don't want to be self-distributing.
What do you think, Danny?
I would never touch self-distributing with the 10-foot pole. I'm on board with that all day long. It's a lot of management. They do what they do, and they do it very well.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to have them do it. And we're definitely going to stick with the people that we're with and try to continuously increase sales and everything in the future. But I also believe that these restaurants, tap rooms, little nano breweries, microbreweries, in more locations are great because, again, that's more direct contact that we can have with people, and we're talking about all this environmental stuff, and there's a few other things that I'm secretly working on in Charlottesville right now as well. The more places we are, the more people that we can affect and influence and also share great beer and great food with.
Most proud, Judy, you're going to take some behind the scenes photos. Thank you. Most proud aspect of Wild Wolf Brewing Company.
I think I'm proud of all the people I work with. I'm proud of the team we've built and their allegiance to the company and the things they're willing to do. Sometimes just blows my mind that they're so loyal. You just tell yourself, gosh, I have to just work really hard to continue to earn that loyalty. I'm proud of the fact that we're as much about educating people on the environment, educating them on the process of beer, just trying to continue to educate and teach. That's just a part of our culture. So I'm very proud of who we are as a company,
Love it.
Who we've become and the direction that we're going.
Same.
Yeah, the same, similar to Mary's response. I think that I'm looking forward to the opportunity to continue to work with some of the other people I work with, the colleges, and we've got a big thing going on with Nelson County right now. It's called
Virginia Go?
No, it's through the Virginia Go, but there's a new name for it.
Okay, I don't know.
Anyway, we can get that posted soon. We've started the big the alcohol educational something or other, and
To try to educate people in the
right,
trade.
and that's with
of
Bold Rock and
different-
Devil's
yeah.
Backbone and us,
Love it.
and several other partners as well. So working with programs like that to just help grow the beer community and everything that we can do there in the future, and continuing to speak about it's this easy to do this and be a little bit more green, and continuing to work with I love the opportunities that Charlottesville is going to be giving us soon, so I'm really excited.
Harris Tolber, we'll get you in the mix here. Get ready to go for what you learned from the interview. We'll thank your neighbor, Chrissy Benninger, who's watching now, of Bluegrass Grill and Bakery. She's watching. Megan Schmidt's giving you guys some love.
Hey, Megan.
Ruth Hamner, Will Naffy. I'm sorry I'm messing up your name, Will. Lydia Holman, Sharon Lee, Barbara West, Chris Turner, John Gilmore. Got a few thousand watching now, guys. The interview is going to be archived in totality on ilovecville.com. Barbara Slater West says, good luck in your next venture in downtown. I can't wait to see it.
Thanks, Barbara.
Downtown Taproom is open now.
It is.
Your beer, did I read correctly? It starts in July.
Actually, so there is this very antiquated law
Right.
that prevents you from not even being able to buy your beer from the distributor until you have your TTB license.
Because we're a brewery at the new location.
Right. And our TTB license was delayed because of the government shutdown.
Right.
So a normal 60-day process went to a 105-day process. So the good news is
Don't you hate that?
It's what I hate is I don't even mind that so much as the antiquated law.
Right.
Because we were perfectly willing to buy our beer from our distributor, which was going to cost more money, obviously. But nonetheless, we did get our TTB license on Monday night.
Nice.
And now we're almost to the finish line with the ABC because they really didn't review our documents until the last minute. So now there's a few loopholes. But I think by the end of the week we'll have it. So we'll be
This week? Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so awesome, guys. Yeah. Downtown Taproom. Harris Tolber, what did you learn today from two rock stars, Mary and Danny Wolf?
Yeah, Jerry, this was a great interview. I really enjoyed it. Danny and Mary obviously are entrepreneurs through and through. And what I really enjoyed was hearing Danny talk about how you kind of made your passion your profession. And in doing so, you started teaching at PVCC and was able to travel in order to pursue your passion. And I also love how y'all are so passionate about the eco-friendly piece with Wild Wolf, and also so passionate about creating jobs for people. I mean, it really shows, and it was a great episode, a great interview. So throw it back to you, Jerry.
Absolutely. You guys rock, man. I love your beer.
Thank you.
Love what you do. Love the family vibe. I love being able to go there with my buddies and have a good time. I love being able to go there with my wife and son and feel safe with my son, just hanging out and chilling. I think the food is amazing. I think your beer is on point. I love the growth and what you guys have done in 10 years, Mary. I mean, I feel inspired. Literally every time I talk with you, I feel inspired. Support the Downtown Taproom. You just heard it. Their beer on tap end of this week, potentially. Get there, support. And what is it? Tell me the ale trail again, the name.
The Charlottesville Ale Trail.
Charlottesville Ale Trail. Mm-hmm. Support local beer. Yes. Support local beer, please. Thank you guys for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. Yeah. We close the show the same way every single time, guys, and we ask you guys to embody the golden rule, not making this about religion, just making it about treating other people with respect, treat others how you want to be treated yourself, and watch the positive impact it will have across any community that you're a part of. Charlottesville needs this more than ever. The golden rule, guys. Please embody that. This is the I Love Cville show. It's Monday through Friday, 12:30 to 1:30 on the I Love Cville network. We are back at 3 p.m., which is in 86 minutes, with What's Barking Local, powered by Animal Connection. And What's Barking Local is a show we've created that spotlights animals across Charlottesville and Central Virginia. Any animal story related, we talk about it on this show, 3 o'clock on What's Barking Local. I'm Jerry Miller. It's the I Love Cville show. We'll see you in now 85 minutes. Take care, guys. Good work.
Awesome.
You rock.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Seriously, thank you. Thank you. We will get the photo. That's the last thing we got to do, and that's for the package. Judah's going to get your email addresses, and we can send you all the content. You guys have absolute rights to any of this content, Mary.